I would love to know when your creative journey began.
I mean, I feel like I was always a creative kid. I always was just drawn to specifically just like visual creativity, doodling, drawing, all that. And then what really kicked off like my pursuit of design and like graphic media was I found Photoshop on my dad's computer around like 10 or 11 and just started playing around with making collages of my favorite sports players.
Oh,
and,
nice. Okay.
And then that grew into like, I just started, it just like grew from there. I taught myself Photoshop, then taught myself Illustrator, and really just kicked off. By the end of high school, I kind of knew I wanted to do design as a career.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pretty smooth path from there. And I was very fortunate to be able to like know what I wanted to do from an early age.
Oh, that's so interesting. So is your dad a creative as well?
No, he's a software engineer. So
but he had Photoshop.
He just had, he's very, I don't know, he's a techie guy. He has all the stuff. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then did you go to school for graphic design?
No, I went to school for marketing.
Okay.
Because I felt like I had the skills, and I knew at the end of high school, I kind of knew that like a design degree wouldn't get me that much further than just like my portfolio at the time. So I decided to opt for marketing and like expand my skill set a little bit.
Because you realize, I'm like, okay, I already have been working with like Adobe Creative Suite for however many years, and you've already worked on that scale. Now you're like, okay, I need more like strategic skills in terms of marketing, so I can really sell to clients. Is kind of where you were going at. Okay, that's cool. I haven't heard too many people take that route in the field. So, okay, so now you do you work as a creative director. You're doing designs. It's funny because I feel like being a creative director is probably one of the most like sought out job title in the creative industry for sure. Can you tell me what that job like entails? I feel like a lot of us hear it a lot, but we're not really sure what that means or what they really even do.
I feel like it a little bit depends on what industry you're working as a creative director in. So whether it's like if you're working in-house for a B2B tech brand, that's going to look very different than like consumer goods or agency life. But in general, what I do day to day is I lead all the like big picture creative strategy for, I mostly work with food and beverage brands. So leading, we have a new product that's launching, all the way from packaging through to social media and website and ads and all that. What does that look and feel like to the consumer? And how do you strategy? A lot of it is creative strategy of like, okay, if we want to target, let's say 35-year-old women, how do we strategize creatively to make sure that this appeals to that demographic? And so it's a lot of big picture thinking. Thankfully, I also still get to do actual design work in hands-on, because a lot of creative directors, that's something that I've found is that I've talked to creative directors that move really high up in agency, like big agencies, and they're like, this is great, I'm getting paid a lot and I get to like have a lot of responsibility, but I don't get to actually do the thing that made me fall in love with the work in the first place. So thankfully I am still at the level where I'm able to do both, and I have clients that I'm able to do both for.
When you are working and you're coming up with like these campaigns, and where are you starting out? Like, are you the idea person and then you're executing, or are you like, is someone else coming up with the idea and then you help execute that visually?
I think it depends on the project and the client. A lot of times there's a varying degree of input from the client. Sometimes they are already fleshed out brand standards, and they're like, oh, we want it to just live in this world. Can you just kind of do something that's barely deviating from this? Or it's like, we're starting from scratch. We don't even have packaging. We barely have a name. Let's build this from the ground up.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So most of the time it's collaborative. I think that's what I love about this work, is that I get to collaborate and bounce ideas off of, and I feel like that's where the best ideas come from, is when you collaborate with smart people.
Yeah. So this is a conversation that we had a little bit when we did our introduction call. We were like, well, you know, I'm not doing the traditional art. Is that still okay? But I think there is still an art within design.
Yeah.
So how do you balance the strategic side and balance the artistic side in your work?
That's a great question. It's pretty. I feel like that's a foundational question that I think about a lot too, because I definitely I bump up against that question quite a bit in the work I do, because there's always the question of like, I really like the way this looks aesthetically, and it's like this. It's more beautiful this way, or it's prettier this way, but then maybe that's not the way that it sells best, and so in commercial work, you're always going to go with what sells. I think it's a collaboration with the sales and marketing teams, with whoever you're working with that's not on the creative side, to marry the two. Because I really think my favorite work in the world is the stuff that does both. That's beautiful and aesthetically, that feels like art and also sells. And so that's the work I try to create. But it feels like a dance or a balance in a lot of ways. Yeah,
it's challenging. How much of your work do you think focuses on storytelling?
I think really, I mean, if you want to get really philosophical, I feel like every piece of art is somewhat of a story.
For sure. I think that's the most common thing that you can find across all mediums in art, is that every artist is telling a story. Yeah. Do you see that in your work as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like every brand that's really like what a brand is. Like, companies are telling a story whether they know it or not, and my job really as creative director, designer, is to visualize that story and tell that story creatively in a way that is truthful to the brand and appealing to the consumer.
So if someone wants to pursue a career, whether it's in design, in creative direction, art direction, where do you think the best place for them to start is?
Create things and have fun doing it. I feel like that is, depending on what stage, but like if you're really early on, like high school, college, just make make things that you think are so cool and so fun, and are whatever beautiful, just make things that you think are awesome, and then honing your taste. I feel like those are the two things that, like, I could talk about like strategy, career strategy and all that, but so much of that shift stayed like year to year now. But I think the big picture is like create things and then hone your taste, because you're never going to create things that are better than your taste. So if you have to make sure that your taste is always like really sharp and at the next level above you. Otherwise, you're not going to keep getting better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is there a way to practice that, like refining your taste, or do you think that's like something that you're born with?
I feel like it's definitely. No, there's definitely is a way to hone it. That's an interesting question. How to hone your taste. I feel like consuming art and noticing art, noticing beauty, noticing why something works and why something doesn't, exposing yourself to a wider, like, don't get too comfortable and like, oh, well, I like this exact style and this vibe or whatever. Like, expose yourself to a wide range, even if it's kind of something maybe you're like, oh, I don't know if I like that. There's someone out there that does, and finding like, okay, even if I don't appreciate this style or this medium or whatever, why do some people appreciate it? And let me find why they appreciate it. And I feel like that just expands your taste.
Yeah. That's a great answer. thought about this topic, and it's not pertaining to design itself, but
Sure.
just with art in general, where I ask myself, what makes an artist a great artist, you know? And I think I think there are a lot of talented artists out there that can replicate,
Yeah.
that can create, but it's not something original. And I think what separates a person that is a good artist from like an amazing artist, or someone that really has something there, is their ability to come up with original concepts and ideas. And I wonder if there's something like that in design or creative direction. Like, is there something that stands out to you when you see it that you're like, oh wow, they're really good at what they do?
When I've worked on cool like good projects with good people, it feels like we're doing it just because we want to see that work in the world, and so we're creating it. And I'm like, oh wait, what if we did this? And it feels almost indulgent. And I feel like that's where a lot of the greatest art comes from, is kind of a like indulging yourself a little bit, which almost contradicts what I said earlier, but
No, but I love that. Because here's the thing, it's like you have to make the separation, but when you can indulge,
yes,
it just is like, it's really good.
Yes.
You know? Okay, I want to get a little bit strategic.
yes,
So let's say, you have resumes coming in, or you're looking at people's portfolios. Actually, that's probably more more like what you're doing now. You're seeing portfolios coming in. There are a lot of younger designers who maybe want to work with you, and you're looking at their portfolio. What's making you go, okay, this person has something, and they're actually worth hiring and, like taking on?
Yeah. Their taste, 1,000,000% their taste.
How do you?
Basically, like
How do you like?
How do I determine whether they have? If I like the work I see on their portfolio, if I feel like it is, I mean, I guess that is also just so subjective. But I think if they could have something that I've found a lot, which is like I'll see a portfolio and it has 3 good projects, like beautiful, really well done projects that I love, and then one like bad one. It makes me not trust their taste if they're including that bad one in their portfolio. I'm like, I've created bad work. We've all created bad work, but I don't put that in my portfolio. So if you're putting that in your portfolio, I don't trust that your taste is honed enough to where you're going to be able to differentiate good and bad design work or creative work. And so because I can teach skills all day long, I can't teach taste.
Right.
If you can't look at 2 different designs and tell me which one is better, and hopefully why, but at the very least which one is better, then like I can't teach that.
I really like what you said there. So your advice would be, if you have 4 projects, like your advice is quality over quantity.
Absolutely. I would rather see like 2 projects that they've crushed and hit out of the park. And I'm like, okay, I know not all their work's going to look like this, but I know that they can work like this, and that they know that these are stellar because they've included them in their portfolio. And I'm like, okay, if they know that that's what they're aiming for, then yeah, I want someone that knows good design when they see it.
I think that's really good advice, because I do think a lot of times when young designers are building their portfolio, they just want to put everything on there because they want to see.
Like I want experience.
Like, look at all these experiences that I've had with all these projects, and look at how versatile I can be in all these spaces. But if it's not good, don't put it on there.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
All right, that's solid.
You're only as good, in my opinion, you're only as good as your worst portfolio piece from a like recruiter or employer standpoint.
Wow. Okay, that's really good. Let's talk about working with clients and collaborations, because I know you're doing that a lot. You're working with different teams, different clients. How do you deal with creative differences?
I feel like subjective difference, I feel like you try to just get as objective as possible within creative differences. So if there's like a disagreement on a creative project or creative direction, the client who's actually in charge of it has the last say, right? If they're hiring me, then I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to persuade them in the direction that I think is best, but at the end of the day, they're going to decide what they decide, and I have to be open to that. But I think it's my job to not just, I think early in my career, I would just set something in front of a client and be like, okay, they're going to know that that's good. And then, like, I've had multiple, it's kind of a trope in the freelance design world, but like, if you present 3 logo options to a client, they're always going to choose the worst one, is kind of the trope.
Really?
And so, and I learned that the hard way, where I'd be like, I have a standout design, a logo design, and I'd set 3 in front because you want to give them options. And then there's one standout and 2 weaker ones, and they always choose one of the weaker ones.
It's crazy how that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so, and it seems to be like, I've like talked to other designers, and they feel the same. Like they've had similar experiences. And so selling your work, I think, is the important thing within that, is like, okay, why? But it means that you need to know why. But like, why do you think this is the best option creatively? And tell the client that, tell whoever you're collaborating with why you think it's the best. And then that way they can know, like, if they disagree, it also forces them to be like, okay, wait, I disagree. Now they have to say why they disagree. And then you eventually, hopefully, collaborate yourself into the best option, whether it's one of those or a different one. A skill that you need in any creative pursuit with another human being or a team or anything is how to make your second favorite option as good as your first. I feel like that's something too, where like I've worked on projects where my idea doesn't get chosen, or they need to go another direction or something, and I could just like get all butthurt about it and be like, oh, okay, fine, I guess it's just gonna be shitty, I guess we're not making good work. But it's like, well, no, let me see that as a challenge of like, okay, you want to go with the weaker logo option. How do I build out a brand around that makes that look as good as the first logo option I gave you? Rather than just throwing in the towel and being like, fine, whatever, it's going to be garbage.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of an immature. Earlier in my career, I probably would have done that. But
Yeah.
I try to not do that now.
Do you have advice for someone that wants to pursue this career?
In freelance work, people are paying or will value your process as much as your final work. So like, someone could have stellar work, but if they're really hard to work with, don't communicate well, aren't like super personable, are just hard to work with in general, like no one's gonna want to hire you back. Making the process as beautiful as the final work is gonna lead to good things.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
It is very important because it is still a client it's still a relationship building type work, especially when you're doing freelance. You really want to have, especially when you're working with clients that have absolutely no idea what the creative environment looks like. You really want to be there to answer questions, to have it be like a really good experience, you know? And that's so important that I don't think a lot of people talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think early on in your career, you assume everyone else knows better than you, or like knows more than you. And so you're like, well, I'm just doing their little design work for them. But so much of the time, like, it took me several years to realize, like, oh no, actually, like, people are paying me because I know the design world and I know how design works. And how creative work works. And so they're paying me as much for like guidance as they are for the final output.
Yeah.
So guiding them, like freelance clients, guiding them through the process, whether it's like a logo project or a full campaign or whatever it is, being like, all right, this is what we're doing now. Next step would be this, rather than just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and not communicating that all clearly.
Who is your favorite artist right now, or designer, or anyone that we should be looking at?
Nicholas Scarpinato is a visual artist. He used to be in LA. I think he's in New York. And he does a lot of like photography, like not even collage, but like editorial commercial photography for brands, and it's stunning work, just beautiful. And he's one of those people that like I can tell he does it for the love of the game, and
Yeah.
like you can tell every work he creates he just like has fun with. And yeah, big fan of his work.
Okay.
And then I found myself I don't know if Mark Maggiore, I think his name is. I could double check that. He's a fine artist. Yeah, he does like Western style fine art paintings, and
Ooh.
they're just very
Yeah.
super inspiring. And then the other one that I love is he's very well known on Instagram is Pablo Rochat, I think his last name is. Rochat. He like does like his stuff. I don't even know how to categorize it. Just look him up and you'll be like, it's like the most creative mind I've seen in a very long time.
What was that, Pablo?
Pablo Rochat.
Pablo Rochat.
Yes.
Ooh, I'm excited to look at all of these now.
Yeah. I can send them to you too, and
Okay.
you can link them, whatever. But
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, because I love hearing this answer, when did you decide, okay, I want to pursue this career?
It was probably gradual. I think in high school, because I taught myself design, and so in high school, when like family friends started paying me to do design work, that I already was just doing it because I love it. Like I was doing it all day after school.
Yeah.
And then family friends would be like, hey, can you design a t-shirt for my business? Hey, I have a flyer. Can you design that? And I was like, wait, they're paying me $200 to do this thing that I was going to do, that I would love to do for free in an afternoon.
Yeah.
I think that was like, I still like pinch myself sometimes where I'll be like designing some cool thing that I'm like, I would be doing this on a Saturday morning just because, and then I'm getting paid to do that. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate, and it was kind of a gradual process in high school.
Gotcha. You just started out with doing what you loved, and then you
Yeah.
were like, and then people were like, can you do this? And you're like,
Exactly.
wait, hold on.
Exactly.
There's
Which
something here.
that's crazy to me, because like so many people like never get to like monetize. Not that you need to, but like it's very helpful to be able to monetize what you love. And so I feel very fortunate that like my day job isn't like something that I wake up dreading every day. Like I truly enjoy like the day-to-day work of my job a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate goal,
Yeah.
I think, to be able
Truly.
to love what you do and not get penalized for it either.
Right.
Because I think there's this crazy concept of like what's called a passion penalty. So it's like when you're passionate about your job, people think that you should be paid less for it, which is such
interesting.
complete bullshit. And it's a topic that I can go on and on about,
Yeah.
but you know, like we should not be penalized for loving what we do.
Right.
Because imagine a world where nobody loved art, nobody
Right.
loved design. How much would you pay them? Because it's so important,
Yeah.
regardless. So, but yeah, it's really something really truly special, and I hope more people are able to experience that and can go for it. And I think that's what Artisnotahobby is really about, is to inspire people to at least try.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, but you never know till you start. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be all or nothing too. I think people kind of think that it's like
Very true.
either I'm fully in it or not, but like if you're any kind of art, just like create it consistently and then see if there's a market for people buying it, whether it's fine art or commercial photography or design or whatever. Like if you're good, and I think this is maybe a hot take, but like if you're good enough, there's a market.
Yeah.
Like, so just get really good. And I feel like that's the early part of your career, is just trying to get as good as you can as fast as you, or not even as fast, just get as good as you can.
Yeah.
Because then there'll be a market for your work.
Yeah, totally. Okay.